"Sir, step away from the animal and put your hands up now. He looks aggressive," the rookie police officer yelled, his voice tight with fear and adrenaline, his taser already drawn and aimed. Retired Gunnery Sergeant Marcus "Gunny" Rourke, 70, simply tried to shield Valor, his aging black Labrador service dog, who had merely growled softly at the officer's sudden, aggressive approach. "He's a service dog, officer. He's trained. Just calm down." But the officer didn't calm down. The taser fired, its barbs hitting Gunny, who collapsed, his primary concern still for Valor. 5 minutes later, as Gunny lay groaning, the street outside erupted. Not with more police, but with the unmistakable, earth-shaking rumble of Marine Corps tactical vehicles forming an iron ring around the entire building. If you believe service animals are lifelines, not threats, and their handlers deserve respect, type "Recept" below. Gunnery Sergeant Marcus "Gunny" Rourke, USMC retired, lived a life defined by quiet discipline and the unwavering companionship of Valor, his black Labrador service dog. Gunny, at 70, was weathered, but still carried the indomitable spirit of a Marine. His back was stiff, his gait sometimes unsteady from old combat injuries sustained over 30 years of service, from the jungles of Southeast Asia to the urban battlefields of the Middle East. Valor, himself an aging warrior with graying muzzle, was more than a pet. He was Gunny's anchor, trained to assist with Gunny's mobility, retrieve dropped items, and most importantly, provide a calming presence against the lingering shadows of PTSD. They were an inseparable pair, often seen on their slow, steady walks through their quiet suburban neighborhood, Gunny leaning lightly on Valor's sturdy frame when his balance faltered. Today, they were on their way to a routine appointment at a small multi-office commercial building that housed Gunny's physical therapist. It was a bright afternoon, peaceful. Gunny wore simple, comfortable civilian clothes, khaki trousers, a polo shirt, and a baseball cap with a faded Marine Corps emblem. Valor wore his clearly marked service animal vest. They were just two old soldiers, man and dog, navigating their day. As Gunny and Valor approached the entrance of the low-rise office building, a young police officer, Officer Miller, was just exiting after responding to a minor, unrelated call inside. Miller was fresh out of the academy, eager, jumpy, and perhaps a little too quick to see threat where none existed. He was also, unbeknownst to Gunny, highly unnerved by larger dogs due to a childhood incident. As Gunny and Valor neared the doorway, Valor, sensing the officer's sudden appearance and perhaps his nervous energy, let out a single low woof. Not aggressive, more of a soft hello or a gentle alert to Gunny. Officer Miller, however, misinterpreted it instantly. He saw a large black dog, heard a bark, and his ingrained fear kicked in, overriding his training. "Whoa! Hold it right there! Control your animal!" Miller shouted, stepping back abruptly, his hand instinctively going to his sidearm before shifting to his taser. Gunny immediately placed a calming hand on Valor's head. "Easy, Valor. It's all right." He then addressed the officer, his voice calm and steady, despite the officer's escalating agitation. "He's a service dog, officer. He's perfectly trained, just alerting to your presence. There's no threat." But Miller wasn't listening. His eyes were wide, fixed on Valor, who, despite Gunny's reassurance, was now sitting a little straighter, sensing the officer's fear and agitation, his posture becoming protectively alert, though still not aggressive. "He looks aggressive to me," Miller yelled, his voice cracking slightly. "Sir, step away from the animal and put your hands up now. I said step away." "Officer, please," Gunny tried again. "He's a registered service animal assisting a disabled veteran. He won't harm you. Just lower your voice, you're agitating him." He started to reach into his pocket for Valor's VA service animal ID card. Officer Miller saw Gunny reach for his pocket and his panic escalated. "He's going for something! Non-compliant subject with an aggressive animal!" he shouted, more to himself than to Gunny. Without further warning, without attempting de-escalation, without waiting for Gunny to produce any ID, Officer Miller fired his taser. The two electrified barbs struck Gunny squarely in the chest. The world exploded in a blinding flash of pain for the old Marine. His muscles seized, his legs buckled, and he crashed heavily to the pavement, the impact jarring his already aching hip. Valor, seeing his handler fall, let out a distressed bark and nudged Gunny's face, whining, then stood protectively over him, looking towards Miller with a low, worried growl but making no aggressive move. Miller, still amped up, kept his taser aimed at Gunny, now also eyeing Valor warily. "Stay down. Don't move." Several passers-by and people from inside the office building, drawn by the commotion and Miller's shouts, stared in shock and horror. Someone started filming with their phone. Gunny lay on the ground groaning, the aftershocks of the taser coursing through him. His primary concern, even through the pain, was for Valor. "Valor. Easy, boy. It's okay," he gasped out. He was dazed, disoriented, and a deep cold anger was beginning to burn through the pain. He'd faced enemy fire, IEDs, ambushes, but to be tasered on a suburban sidewalk while trying to explain his service dog status felt like the ultimate, absurd betrayal. He fumbled for his cell phone, his fingers clumsy and uncooperative from the taser's effects. He managed to unlock it, his vision swimming. He didn't call 911. He didn't call a lawyer. He scrolled to a single contact. Semper Fi Actual. It was a dedicated emergency line for his old Marine Recon Battalion's Veterans Network, a line that guaranteed an immediate, no-questions-asked response if one of their own was in dire, unjust trouble. He pressed dial. The call was answered on the first ring, not with a greeting but a calm. "Location and sit rep Gunny?" It was Top Rodriguez, his former first sergeant, now running a private security firm, but still the unofficial linchpin of their battalion's old boy network. "Top," Gunny gasped, his voice weak. "Office building, corner of Oak and 7th, tasered by local PD. Valor's okay. Officer's an idiot. Thinks Valor's aggressive." "Understood, Gunny." Top Rodriguez's voice was suddenly like ice. "Oak and 7th. Are you injured beyond the taser?" "Hip's bad. Took a hard fall." "Roger that. Stay put if you can. Help is en route. ETA under 5. And Gunny, we're coming in hot." The line went dead. Gunny wasn't sure what coming in hot meant in this context, but he knew Top. When Top said help was en route, it meant the cavalry, Marine Corps style. He lay there, Valor licking his face, the small crowd of onlookers growing, Officer Miller still keeping his distance, looking increasingly uncertain now that the immediate threat was neutralized, and he was faced with an elderly man groaning on the pavement. 2 minutes passed, then 3. The distant wail of a standard police siren could be heard approaching. 4 minutes. Then a new sound, deeper, more powerful, a sound that resonated deep in Gunny's bones, a sound he knew better than his own heartbeat. The unmistakable, ground-shaking rumble of multiple heavy tactical vehicles. It wasn't just one siren, it was the growing roar of a convoy, and it wasn't coming from the direction of the local police station. Officer Miller looked up, his face paling, as the sound grew deafening. From both ends of Oak Street, appearing as if from nowhere, a convoy of Marine Corps vehicles, Humvees, MRAPs, and even a light-armored vehicle, LAV, roared into view, their desert-tan paint schemes stark against the suburban backdrop. They moved with terrifying speed and precision, lights flashing. Though not standard police lights, these were different, more urgent. Within seconds, they had formed an impenetrable 3-deep perimeter around the entire office building and the section of street where Gunny lay, effectively sealing it off. Marines in full combat utility uniforms, though carrying only sidearms as per stateside liaison protocols, disembarked, taking up calm, disciplined, and utterly intimidating positions. The local police car that had just arrived skidded to a halt, its occupants staring in stunned disbelief at the sudden, overwhelming Marine presence. Officer Miller stood frozen, his taser hanging limply at his side, his jaw slack. This wasn't in any training manual. The rear door of the lead MRAP opened, and a figure emerged who radiated an aura of absolute, unshakable command. He was a Marine colonel, his uniform immaculate, his eagle globe and anchor insignia gleaming. He strode directly towards Officer Miller, his expression like granite. 2 other Marines, a master gunnery sergeant and a captain, flanked him. "Officer," the colonel's voice was deceptively calm, but it cut through the sudden shocked silence like a razor. "I am Colonel Matthews, United States Marine Corps. I understand you just deployed a taser on one of my retired gunnery sergeants, a combat-decorated Marine, who was attempting to inform you about his registered service animal." Miller could only stammer, "Sir, the dog, it was aggressive. He reached for Valor's VA service animal identification, which you clearly failed to request or recognize," the colonel stated flatly. "Valor," he gestured to the Labrador who was still faithfully by Gunny's side, "is known to half the Wounded Warrior Regiment at Camp Lejeune. He saved more lives through emotional support than you've likely had hot dinners." He knelt beside Gunny, his expression softening with concern. "Gunny Rourke, you all right, old man?" "Colonel Matthews," Gunny managed, a weak grin touching his lips. "Took you long enough, sir." "Traffic was a bear, Gunny," Matthews replied. Then his eyes hardened as he looked back at Miller. "While my medical team attends to Gunnery Sergeant Rourke," two Marine combat medics were already gently assessing Gunny, "perhaps you can explain to me, and to the city police chief who is currently en route at my urgent request, your department's training protocols for engaging with disabled veterans, service animals, and the appropriate use of less lethal force." He paused. "Because from where I'm standing, officer, it looks like you just assaulted a decorated Marine veteran for trying to manage his service dog in the face of your unprofessional agitation, and the Marine Corps takes a very, very dim view of that." The local police chief did indeed arrive minutes later, looking apoplectic. He and Colonel Matthews had a very brief, very intense, and very one-sided conversation. Officer Miller was immediately relieved of duty pending a full internal affairs and city investigation. His badge and sidearm surrendered on the spot to his chief. The Marine medical team carefully transported Gunny Rourke to the nearby military hospital for a full checkup, Valor riding calmly beside him in the ambulance, a military one that had also somehow appeared. Colonel Matthews assured Gunny that Valor would be cared for, and that all his legal and medical needs would be handled by the Marine Corps legal assistants and Veterans Affairs liaisons. The Marine Convoy maintained its security posture around the office building until Gunny was safely away, and the local police had formally taken Officer Miller into their custody for processing. The message was unequivocal. The incident at Oak and 7th became a local legend almost overnight. Officer Miller was ultimately dismissed from the police force after the investigation revealed numerous protocol violations and a pattern of excessive force complaints. The city implemented mandatory, comprehensive new training for all its officers on ADA compliance for service animals, de-escalation techniques, and specific protocols for interacting with veterans, particularly those with PTSD or visible disabilities. Training modules developed with input from Colonel Matthews' office and local veterans groups. Gunny Rourke made a full recovery, though his hip was sore for weeks. He received a personal apology from the mayor and the chief of police. The Semper Fi Actual Network had once again proven its silent, powerful reach, demonstrating that the bonds of the Corps extended far beyond active duty, ready to mobilize with formidable speed and resources when one of their own was unjustly harmed. Valor, of course, received extra treats and was hailed as a hero by Gunny's battalion buddies. It was a stark reminder to all: never underestimate an old Marine, his service dog, or the lengths his brothers and sisters in arms will go to ensure he is treated with the honor and respect he earned a lifetime ago. Because when you mess with one Marine, especially one with a service dog named Valor, you might just find the entire Marine Corps, or a sizable, very motivated contingent thereof, showing up on your doorstep. Subscribe to my channel if you believe our veterans and their service animals deserve unwavering protection and that true loyalty knows no bounds.